Welcome to the EchoCast, episode 113. This is a podcast about the Division 2, its community, news, speculation, and updates. I am Morgan, also known as Bond Diesel. I do supposedly some Division stuff, such as this podcast, Twitch streams, and YouTube videos. Please take a moment to subscribe and rate the podcast on whatever platform you are listening to it on. If you're on YouTube, please follow, ring the bell, and whatever else you're supposed to do. So all those things help me get noticed, and I do appreciate it. Today, we're going to have a quick chat. We'll talk about the state of the game. We'll do a little chit chat about how Destiny 2 is moving forward and how I think that impacts Division, and then we're going to wrap this baby up. So the thing I want to say will come right after I thank this month's Patreon supporters: Hassan, Christian, Darren, Dale, Justin, Tim, PK, and DJ. Okay, if you would like to support this podcast, please check out patreon.com/theechocast. Okay, so we did not have an episode last week. I think that's the first week I've skipped in a while. It's been a little bit, and we've only missed one other episode weekly. So the reason I missed it is because I felt like it was appropriate to take the week off and spend some time reflecting, promoting other creators and stuff like that. I have a pretty small reach, but I'd like to think that I can still use it appropriately. The stuff that's going on, we've been dealing with COVID-19 since March, or at least here in the States we have been, and then in the last few weeks we've been dealing with what's happened in the wake of George Floyd, and more locally for me, Breonna Taylor being killed. I think that stuff deserves respect. I think that this isn't a channel or a thing that I want to make overly political. I rarely discuss politics unless you follow my main Twitter account, but that's your mistake, not mine. And I guess how I feel about it is I watched all 9 minutes of that video of that man being killed. I wanted to be a cop, actually. After college, I tried for a couple of years to get in my area. You have to at least have a degree. Military experience is very preferred, and having the right connections helps. So I got close in a few departments and ended up ending that dream 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's been a while since I've tried, but I have cops in my family. I have most of my family was military at one point, then became policemen. I have a lot of friends who are policemen. So when things happen, I have to admit that I tend to have a lean, or I at least don't jump straight to conclusions. There's a lot of shootings that happen, a lot of things that do happen, where I think often the truth is gray. I think good and bad is gray sometimes. And then there's other situations. And if you are confused about why people are so upset about George Floyd's death, you need to go and you need to watch the whole video. If you still can't be moved by it, then assume, what if that was you, or your child, or your dad, or someone who means something to you? There's situations that happen that are tough to know how you feel. This is not one of them. When you watch someone for 8.5, 9 minutes beg for their life and slowly drift away and then die in front of your eyes, with no care or remorse by the person doing it, and no concern from the people around them other than the civilians watching. I mean, I think that if this stuff upsets you, if you don't want to hear me talking about it right now and all of that, I at least ask that you go and watch that video. If you can come out of that and not understand what's going on, I'm not asking you to agree with it necessarily. I think that you may need to do some soul searching. um, I, if you don't watch the video or have seen me or have listened to me, because I assume I sound like the whitest white boy on earth. I'm a white guy. I grew up in the rural Midwest. I grew up in a very racist area. I heard lots of people say lots of racist things my entire life, mostly people who had never met anyone of another race. I was lucky to be raised by a single dad who was in the military and was exposed to a lot of people different than him. And he was always very proactive about making it clear to me that, hey, it's just pigment, man. There's nice people, there's mean people of all shapes, colors, and sizes. So don't judge people until you get to know them, and then judge the hell out of them. But it's an issue I won't pretend to understand, or I've never experienced it. The worst thing I've experienced as a white man is people thinking I can't dance or jump, and they're correct in both ways. So I had friends in college that were black guys, and they told me stories about the way they were treated. And at the time, I don't think I understood the full gravity. But with everything that's happened since, and especially recently, at the end of the day, I think if you're struggling with this, or if it's stuff's making you angry or anxious or whatever, I think that it's a good time for people to self-reflect about the way that they think and behave and act, and to just think of this as a time for self-improvement, and that it's a good time to reach out and look for ways to help in your own way. For me, I'm fundraising for, if you want to check out my pinned tweet, I'm raising money for the Equal Justice Initiative. They're big about actually doing things, but also education, which I think is very important. So if you want to contribute to that, please check it out. And I think it's really important for people like me to be doing lots of listening and not too much talking. So I will go ahead and leave it at that. Okay, so jumping into the Division 2 State of the Game, number 162. So the big news came from it was Title Update 10 releases on June 16th, as this coming Tuesday, depending on when you listen to this. It will have various changes and fixes, especially focused on the general health of the game and the feeling of the gameplay. The goal is for this to make the game more fun. They clarified that Season 2 is going to begin on June 23rd. You will have until June 15th, this coming Monday, to finish Season 1 activities that you're still working on. As of Wednesday, PTS 3 closed. They wanted to make sure to point out that the changes that happened in that weren't quite the final ones, but many of them were. And then they kind of confirmed Operation Ironhorse, the next raid, and that's coming in July. So some extra details they gave on Season 2. There's a new set of manhunt targets coming that we don't know anything about. A wink, wink. There's new global events, so that should actually be singular. Apparently there's one new global event, and the rest of them will be recycled. There's going to be no exotics, a brand set, and 3 gear sets, and some of those will be raid exclusives. Yes. Raid 2 details, not very many. They're going to do a stream with Ubi Annecy, which is the studio that does the raids. And it's going to involve developers and designers who worked on the raid to talk a bit more about it. And there will be some type of commemoration to the world's first for each platform. They did clarify that there will not be any matchmaking for the second raid, as there wasn't for the first. And that was about it. So, a few things. Here's where my opinion comes in. You can check out if you haven't already and you don't want to hear more of me rambling. So cool. It's coming out. This is just the most wholly unexciting patch I think I've ever. There's some cool changes. Some of the stuff that they're doing, I do think sounds good. Great. Super sweet. But there's nothing coming. And the big issue is that if season 2 is as called in as season 1, and if the raid isn't new content, I will argue until my face is blue that I still am pretty sure. I checked a couple weeks ago. I believe only 7 or 8% of the Division player base has finished the raid at this point. On Xbox is the only thing I can see. That's not very many. Therefore, this content is for a very small number of people. And then the slap in the face again of this matchmaking thing. With the first raid, this subject got really annoying because people were saying, I need help finding people to play this raid, and especially on console. And the response was, well, matchmaking will suck. Well, yeah, it's gonna suck. Matchmaking's awful. If you play the normal version of the raid, the easy one, with matchmaking, it's rough. Now, I will say, my one time I did that, I got a group where one guy was talking. Out of all 8 people, he knew what he was doing. We didn't wipe once. It is easier, but it's still challenging. We didn't wipe once, and we finished the whole easy raid, and it was really fast. It was surprisingly fast. But I don't think that's the regular experience. But what's frustrating about this is that there was a stay of the game. I don't know which one. I'm not going to go timestamp it. If you don't believe me, don't believe me. But there was a stay of the game where they're like, hey, matchmaking isn't going to work, but we are working on a different system. Now, it seems like when Breakpoint fell on its ass, they cut funding to most of the existing games, probably including Division 2. And then COVID-19 hit and everyone's working from home. So my assumption is that they were working on like an LFG system where in game you could say like must have mic, has to fill this role. You could even do something like has completed the raid before if you're speed running or something. That there was going to be some type of LFG system to get people to come play. Now, Xbox actually has that integrated, and obviously PC players, I don't know anything about PlayStation, so maybe it does too. I don't know. You can tell me. And PC has like Discord and LFG forums and stuff like that. But the console, the problem is that with the first raid, when the subject came up, it was a lot of Destiny players being like, well, just find people. And it's just not that easy. If you're part of some clan that's been playing WoW for 20 years and doing stuff, it's not so easy for people who just jump on and play a couple hours a week. But they shouldn't be gated out of that content. And yeah, sure, they could find Discord. Discord's a shit show, by the way. I hate Discord. If you are a member of my Discord, you'll know that unfortunately it's a thing I just don't enjoy using. It's one more thing that I want to deal with. So I think that isn't the right answer. It's just there's a very dismissive attitude by some people in the community of, well, if you can't find 7 other people, then you just shouldn't even bother. And the problem is that like right now, like this raid, I assume until this tower PvE mode is the only new content. And don't try to sell me on seasons being the new content. They're not. And neither is the manhunt, especially if the final mission of each manhunt is still going to recycle missions we've already played. Yeah, cool. I get to take a different route. That's not new content. Don't sell me that, and don't tell me that's the case, because it's not. I'm a little fired up. So, because like for example, this global event thing, the global events in the first season were awful. The first one I kind of liked, where there's the polarity one. I like that because if you did it correctly, you felt really powerful, and then there was a risk of if you made a mistake. But the other two just felt like pure punishment. They sucked. I hated them. I played the second one for like 20 minutes and never touched it again, even though that's a subject I'll cover at the end of the podcast. But I just, and then locking more stuff behind the raid. I get it. The raid has to have rewards that are desirable, and that people want to compel them to do that. But then with the things I've already talked about, the fact that the raid just isn't meant to be content for most of the player base, and they're almost proud of that when they talk about it. I don't know. I don't know what the better options are. But this raid is what, 6-7 months late. I think this is the last raid, if you want me to be honest. I don't know that. I have no information. I think this raid, the seasons that leaked, if you didn't look into it, I won't talk about it. But that number of seasons, the raid, and then whatever this tower PvE mode, and I think that ends Division 2. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that there's missions coming. I hope that there's more coming in the future. But like, there's stuff in the game that just, where the hell is Chernenko? We saved him from Coney Island to work on this bioreactor, and he's still not integrated. You come back from Warlords of New York in this game, and it's like you never left. Freaking Manny doesn't even say like, "Hey man, how did it go in New York?" You just come back and, "Hey sheriff, there's another bounty downtown." Like, I don't know. I'm a little frustrated, to say the least. I wanted to play the PTS. I jumped on to do it. In Division 1 with the PTS, if you create a new character, it would give you a level 30, or in Division 2's case, a level 40 character. And with some, like, a decent amount of loot, and then you could buy the loot for free to test it, the new stuff. But with Division 2, you can't do that. And so I never leveled up a character all the way. I definitely haven't leveled one up to 40. And so if you haven't done that, you just don't get to test the PTS, even if you play on PlayStation or console of one type or another, because we can't be part of the PTS on console because reasons. Some fair, some I don't think are. So I do have a PC, so I jumped on to do it, and now you can't even do it. It's par for the course, unfortunately. That said, I mean, if people are excited for this stuff, I'm really happy. That's great. I'm sure the raid's gonna be really fun for people to come back and pretend they like the game for a couple hours and then leave again. I can't get myself excited for Title Update 10 because it's weird, because it's not like these changes they're putting in are things that they wanted to do a year and a half or 2 years ago, and they just didn't have time. This is them reacting. I'm okay. The first 6 months or so of the game seemed like, okay, this is a lot of changes and updates and additions to the game. They just didn't have time. This was a pretty quickly developed sequel, right? They just didn't have time, so it takes them a few months to finally finish those things up and throw them in. But at this point, we're still just trying to figure out something. I mean, sometimes I kind of feel like this is like a spitball approach where they just, here's an idea. Let's see if they like it. Oh crap, they don't like it. Let's try this one. And I don't envy the developer and designers' jobs with this game. You're trying to please a player base that I don't think can be pleased. I love this game, so as much as I seem frustrated, I really like Division 2. I've played it, 450, 500 hours. I'm probably going to play a whole lot more until there's new content, at least, to do. I'll do the manhunts and all that, because those are kind of cool, sort of. But this game, I just don't think was ever intended to be played for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 hours. Division 1 wasn't either. I was just stubborn and kept playing it, even though there was nothing new to do. And I just don't have that. My life is different now than it was then. I don't have time to do that anymore. So I can't get myself excited for this. I don't maybe the season 2 is going to have a lot more interesting stuff as part of it. But if it's just essentially like season 1 again, I don't know. I these things are cool, but they have to come with more. And I think more and more my kind of personal little theory that the goal of this game was to be released and to do some stuff. The goal of this game was never to like compete with Destiny 2 or to try to like be amazing. It was just like, it was just kind of released because it could be. And I'm glad it was. It's a great game. If someone says, hey man, should I spend like $20 or $30 to buy all of the Division 2 content and play it? I've never played it before. I would be like, hell yeah. You're talking about 100 or 150, maybe 200 hours of game that is awesome, that you'll really enjoy. But then once people do that and they kind of start to get into the minutia of, oh, this gun isn't balanced perfectly and this gear set sucks. And once you hit that point where it's not like a new thing anymore, you're try harding it, that's when the game does kind of lose a lot of people, I think. I mean, cool. I'm glad they're doing the pod. They're still doing the weekly state of the games and stuff. Well, weekly if they have them. I just don't know. I feel bad for them. I don't know. You can only put lipstick on a pig so much, and it kind of feels like that's where we're at. I don't think Title Update 10 is exciting. I think it's fine. I think it's things that are happening that should have happened a year ago. I don't blame anyone. I think that they're working as hard, especially right now with all of them working from home. But I just, that there's the empathetic part of me who cares about their lives and their selves. And then there's the consumer part of me that is just like, what's going on? like why should I keep investing myself into this franchise? Which is the thing I am surprised I'm saying. Okay, well, we're going to talk more about that in a moment, but then first we're going to hit the mid-roll. Okay, so Destiny 2 had a big show. So they've had a weird week, right? They had a hour and a half long event that was hyped up pretty big and was one of the most disappointing things I have ever seen. Even the last like 5 minutes of it, that was the cool part, was stupid. And then they made up for it by essentially very vaguely, but still doing it, showing what the next 3 years of Destiny is going to be. I'm going to refer to it as Destiny because I think that they're basically making a move of there's no Destiny 1 or 2. It's now Destiny. It's like, wow, Destiny, and we're going to release stuff on top of it and cycle things in. And so now Destiny 2 fans know that for 3 years from now, they have stuff to do in that game, that there's going to be new stuff added. Now, I don't know how good that stuff is going to be. I don't like Destiny. If you don't know this already, I love the shooting. And I think everything else sucks in that game. I think the aesthetic is stupid. I hate the way that everything looks. The enemies are awful and boring to fight. I think the story is just atrocious in that game. It's like a B-level sci-fi movie. I just can't get into it. But I do commend them for being, at this point, now that they're away from Activision especially, transparent. And with Division 2, when those leaks came out a couple weeks ago, those leaks are the most excited I've been for this game in a while when I read through it. And so that's why I'm excited to do the manhunts and to do the stuff that's coming. That stuff sounds cool. It really does. I think it's insane that the way the manhunts work is I kill someone and then I wait 3 weeks to kill someone else. I understand that they're trying to spread the content out, but that is just frustrating to me, and eventually will probably lead to me just not coming back, or at least waiting until like the end of a manhunt. But right now, Destiny players know in general what their situation is for 3 years. And with Division 2, we don't even know what the next content is going to be, if there will be any. Again, I don't consider the raid content because it's not for everyone. This title update 10, it's just a bunch of fixes and balances that should be happening. I don't think this is like a yes, this is amazing, they're doing it. It's more of a yeah, thanks, cool. I appreciate it. Now, where's the stuff for me to do? So I think that there's a lot of jealousy right now, at least for me, and as a Division fan, of the Destiny community, because they know they at least know there's a future. I keep seeing people say like, "This is what Division needs to do." That I am very willing to bet this is not what Division is going to do. I am very willing to bet that we are getting the seasons and the things outlined in the leaks, this raid and whatever this tower PvE mode is, and then I think Division 2 is done, and there will be a Division 3, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. I hope Division 3 is a single player based story game with like a 30-hour story, and it's like a gritty, realistic, not RPG, not open world. I hope it's just this awesome, gritty story about, the next stage of the United States coming back and where the agents stand. The agents are probably going to have to clear their name, but we'll get into that. I just I think that it's like a weird feeling to be like, man, I wish that we knew as much as they know. But unfortunately, just the way that Ubisoft is, for whatever reason, and the way it's been with Division especially, is it seems like they get some kind of like sick pleasure out of not telling us anything. And that's fine, I guess, but I don't think that's a very sustainable way to handle this. But we'll see. The final bit here, I had a question, or it's more of a topic from Mr. Herrera, who talks about Title 10 changes might bring some changes and alternatives to gear and builds, but content-wise, I'm afraid Season 2 will repeat the same logic as the first one. Same global events, except for one more, same reward system, lackluster manhunt, except for Final Minute. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. So, yeah, I agree. And I didn't say your first name because I don't know how to say it. It's Yair Herrera. Feel free to correct me. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the sentiment I have about it. I really appreciate that these guys and girls and people are working super hard on this content, and I can't wait to see the reception of it. And I hope that the PvP is better, so those people will shut up eventually. But I'm whispering, they're never gonna shut up. They're never gonna be happy with the PvP in this game, no matter what they do. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this is like, holy crap, this is awesome. The game feels great now. And I'll be like, no way, I still have stuff to do. I'll come back and play. On that note, I'm going to wrap this thing up with a content update. So I have not played Division in 3 weeks, maybe a month. I think you can probably get from the vibe of this podcast that I'm not really feeling it right now. And I guess I feel weird because I don't know when I will feel it. And so as that pertains to this podcast, I think I'm going to move this podcast to being bi-weekly. I have my other Xbox Dadcast that I have also moved to being bi-weekly. So what I think I'm going to do is every other Friday, is just every Friday switch back and forth. The Xbox is going to have a lot of information coming soon, it seems. So there's going to be a lot to talk about that. I don't know what I'm going to talk about with Division 2, if you want me to be totally honest. In 2 weeks, I assume I'll be talking about the title update 10 and stuff like that. So that's my plan from here on out, is every other week to do the EchoCast. I may throw in an extra episode or even like a short episode. I may still just record like a 10-minute like summary of state of the game every week and then do a bigger thing every other. We'll see. I'm going to play it by ear. There may be a future where the EchoCast goes on hiatus until Division 3 or until that stuff, whatever happens next happens. A lot of people and creators and podcasts and stuff who left the community and stopped doing things waited too long, and they became really toxic and kind of awful to have to listen to, if you want me to be honest. I can even catch myself going that direction a little bit. I don't think as badly, but that's just my opinion. But I don't want to go there. I don't want to hate this game. I don't want to hate this community. I don't want to hate this podcast. This is fun. This is my fun, and I intend on keeping it that way. So I'm please give me input if you're supporting the podcast as a sub on my Twitch channel, which I have started streaming a little bit more again. Here's the kicker: if I podcast less, I'll stream more. So if you like that, then keep that in mind. But if you're a Patreon or you support in one way or the other, if you want to continue that support, I do plan to continue doing things. But if you don't, I understand. And yeah, so that's how I'm feeling. So I'm sorry if this was a bummer. If you've made it this far, I promise I'm happy. Things are great. The weather's awesome this weekend. I can't wait to get outside and spend time with my little family and to stream and to do some fun stuff. It's just, I'm pretty frustrated with Division 2, and I wish the attitude from what it seemed from the game, I don't think any particular person, but it seems like the attitude from the game is, hey, if you played the stuff, then there you go. And that's fine. But I just think everyone expects Division 2 to be what Destiny is, and I don't think that's ever been the intent for Division 2. I don't think there's a single person in any higher up position who said we need to beat Destiny. I think it's very clear at this point now that was never the goal, and I think that's a bummer. I think that should be the goal, but if I knew anything, I would actually be in charge of stuff. So we're gonna wrap it up there. I am Von Diesel on Twitch, where I'm trying to stream at least 2 or 3 times a week. So please check me out there. I am at Von Diesel on Twitter. You can also check out at the EchoCast on Twitter, where I do try to make sure I send out only Division stuff. So if you don't want to see all my crap on Twitter, you can follow at the EchoCast. Last, if you want some cool EchoCast or Von Diesel merch, please check out bondiesel.live/merch. That's all I have. Until next time.